If you are hearing this right now, pause for a moment, because this may not be the kind of message you can simply scroll past and forget. There are moments in life when something quiet calls you, not loudly, not aggressively, not with force, but with a strange inner pull that seems to say, "Pay attention, this is for you." It is no coincidence that you are here, not because something outside of you is controlling your path, and not because this message guarantees anything magical or absolute, but because there are times when your attention becomes a doorway. You may have felt it before, a sensation in your chest, a thought that returns again and again, a subtle discomfort with the life you have been repeating, a feeling that something higher, clearer, more aligned is trying to reach you through the noise. And if you ignore that signal long enough, you may not lose your life, but you may lose the version of your life that was quietly asking to be lived. Do not ignore your highest frequency. Let those words enter slowly, not as pressure, not as fear, as remembrance. Because the highest frequency of your life is not a sound in the sky. It is not a supernatural power you must chase. It is not a promise that everything will instantly change. It is the state of being in which your choices, your energy, your attention, your words, your silence, your courage, and your inner truth begin to move in the same direction. And soon, you will understand why this matters more than you think. By the end of this message, you may begin to see the difference between living from reaction and living from resonance. You may recognize the signs that appear when your life is inviting you upward. You may discover why some people feel permanently disconnected from their own path, while others, even in difficulty, begin to move with a strange kind of inner guidance. But first, you must understand this. The highest frequency of your life does not usually arrive as drama. It often arrives as a whisper. It arrives when you no longer feel satisfied by old conversations. It arrives when distractions begin to taste empty. It arrives when the version of you that once survived is no longer enough for the version of you that wants to awaken. And if this speaks to something in you, stay, breathe, listen. If you want to make this moment more than a passing video, subscribe now. Not as a simple click, but as a small commitment to keep tuning your attention toward the part of you that is waking up. Let it be an anchor. Let it be your way of saying, "I am available for the next level of my awareness." Because not everyone reaches this point consciously. Some people hear the signal and dismiss it. Some feel the invitation and numb it. Some stand at the door of transformation and convince themselves it is only restlessness, only mood, only imagination. But there are others who stop, listen, and begin to understand that their life has been speaking in symbols for a long time. You may be one of them. You may have already noticed that certain things no longer vibrate with you. Certain places, habits, relationships, ambitions, and identities may still exist in your world, but something inside you no longer fully belongs to them. This does not mean you must reject everything. It does not mean you must make impulsive decisions. It means your inner frequency may be changing, and when your frequency changes, your perception changes first. Before your outer life shifts, your inner tolerance shifts. You stop tolerating self-betrayal as easily. You stop confusing chaos with passion. You stop mistaking noise for connection. You stop calling your own exhaustion normal. You begin to feel, perhaps quietly, perhaps uncertainly, that there must be another way to live. This is where many people turn back, because when your highest frequency begins to call you, it often asks you to release your addiction to the familiar. And the familiar can feel safe, even when it hurts. It can feel comfortable, even when it limits you. It can feel like identity, even when it is only repetition. So life presents two paths. You can continue as before, moving through the same emotional loops, ignoring the same inner signals, waiting for the outside world to give you permission to become who you already sense you are becoming. Or you can begin, gently and honestly, to listen to the frequency that has been trying to rise through your own body, your own choices, your own awareness. One path keeps you asleep with your eyes open. The other does not promise comfort, but it offers consciousness. And consciousness is where your power begins to return. If this first revelation lands somewhere inside you, press like now as a way of anchoring it. Not because a button changes your destiny, but because symbolic actions can help the mind remember what the heart has already recognized. Let this be a small signal. I am listening. Do not ignore your highest frequency. The world trains you to ignore it. It trains you to respond quickly, consume endlessly, compare constantly, and confuse stimulation with aliveness. It teaches you to look outside for proof that you are enough, outside for signs that you are chosen, outside for validation that your inner knowing is real. But the highest frequency of your life often begins in the opposite direction. It begins when you stop outsourcing your worth. It begins when you stop asking every person, every outcome, every algorithm, every memory, every wound, and every fear to tell you who you are. It begins when you sit in the quiet and notice that beneath the noise, there is still something untouched, something wise, something patient, something that never needed to scream to be true. Many traditions, philosophies, and contemplative paths have explored this idea in different ways. Some speak of the soul, some speak of awareness, some speak of consciousness, some speak of alignment, presence, or the inner witness. We do not need to turn these words into rigid claims. We can simply use them as mirrors, because perhaps the deepest truths are not always things to prove, but things to experience carefully, humbly, and personally. And here is the first key. Your highest frequency is not found by becoming someone else. It is found by removing the layers that keep you from recognizing yourself. The layer of constant urgency, the layer of inherited fear, the layer of performing strength while hiding exhaustion, the layer of saying yes when your whole body is whispering no, the layer of chasing lives that were never shaped for your spirit. And as these layers begin to loosen, you may notice something unusual. You do not become louder. You become clearer. You do not become superior. You become more honest. You do not need to force people to understand you. You simply begin to understand yourself with more compassion. This is not the end of the transformation. It is only the first step. Soon, you will see why the signal grows stronger when you stop betraying your own rhythm. But before that, understand the second key. The highest frequency often appears first as discomfort. Not all discomfort is guidance, of course. Sometimes the body asks for rest. Sometimes the mind needs support. Sometimes we need practical help, conversation, care, or professional guidance. But there is a particular kind of discomfort that feels like expansion. It does not crush you. It calls you. It does not humiliate you. It invites you. It does not say, "You are broken." It says, "You have outgrown this version of yourself." Have you felt that? Have you felt a strange distance from an old identity? Have you smiled in rooms where your spirit felt absent? Have you continued routines that your deeper self had already left behind? Have you felt grateful for your life and still sensed that something more authentic was waiting beneath the surface? If so, you are not alone. Many people move through this threshold quietly. They do not always have words for it. They may call it confusion, crisis, boredom, burnout, awakening, transition, or spiritual hunger. But beneath the labels, the message is often similar. Something within you is asking to be heard. And this is where the third key begins. Your highest frequency is not only about feeling peaceful, it is about becoming congruent. Congruence means your inner world and outer actions begin to stop fighting each other. What you believe, what you say, what you choose, and what you tolerate begin to align. Not perfectly, not instantly, but sincerely. A person living in low congruence can have many achievements and still feel hollow. A person living in higher congruence can face uncertainty and still feel inwardly held. This does not mean life becomes easy. It means life becomes more honest. And honesty has a frequency, a clean one, a powerful one, a freeing one. If this resonates, write in the comments, "I choose my highest frequency." Do not write it as a guarantee. Write it as an intention. Write it as a signal to your own mind. Write it as a quiet declaration that you are willing to stop abandoning the part of you that knows. Because the window does not stay open in the same way forever. Life keeps moving. Attention keeps being captured. The mind keeps making excuses. And if you postpone your own awakening for too long, you may wake up one day surrounded by things you built while ignoring the voice that tried to guide you differently. That is the fear. But here is the opportunity. You are noticing it now. And here is the control. You can begin with one conscious choice today. Not a dramatic choice, not a reckless choice. One honest choice. One breath before reacting. One boundary where you used to disappear. 1 hour away from the noise. One conversation with yourself that does not end in judgment. One small refusal to keep living against your own inner signal. This is how frequency changes. Not through fantasy, through repetition, through attention, through the subtle discipline of returning to what feels true, grounded, alive, and aligned. Do not ignore your highest frequency. There is a perspective, often kept behind symbolic language, that says human beings do not rise by adding more noise, but by becoming sensitive to what is already present. Ancient contemplative paths, mystical poetry, and modern reflective practices have all circled around this same possibility, that the quality of your attention shapes the quality of your experience. Again, not as a mechanical guarantee, not as a simplistic formula, but as an invitation. When your attention is constantly scattered, your life can feel fragmented. When your attention is constantly afraid, your choices can become defensive. When your attention is constantly comparing, your own path can seem invisible. But when your attention becomes more whole, more present, more sincere, something inside begins to organize differently. You begin to notice what drains you. You begin to notice what nourishes you. You begin to notice where you have been performing instead of living. That noticing is not small. It is the beginning of return. If this second revelation feels true, press like again, gently, as if sealing the recognition. Let the gesture mean, "I am no longer pretending not to know," and share this message with one person who may be standing at the same invisible threshold. Not to convince them, not to pressure them, simply because sometimes a single message arrives at the exact moment someone is ready to hear themselves more clearly. Now listen carefully, because the fourth key is the one many people avoid. Your highest frequency will challenge your attachment to your old pain. This does not mean your pain was not real. It does not mean you should deny, rush, or spiritualize what deserves care. It means there may come a moment when the wound that once explained your life begins to limit it. There may come a moment when the story that helped you survive no longer helps you expand. There may come a moment when you realize that healing, in the deepest sense, is not about pretending nothing happened. It is about no longer letting what happened be the only author of your identity. Some people never reach this point because pain can become familiar. It can become language. It can become belonging. It can become the place from which every decision is made. And when life invites them into a higher frequency, they feel the invitation as a threat. Because who would they be without the old explanation? But you are beginning to remember. You are not only your defense mechanisms. You are not only your disappointments. You are not only the version of you that learned to shrink in order to be safe. There is another self beneath that. Not a perfect self. Not a superior self. A truer self. A self that can grieve and still choose. A self that can feel fear and still listen. A self that can acknowledge the past without building a permanent home inside it. This is why the highest frequency of your life is not escapism. It is intimacy with reality. It asks you to see clearly, to feel honestly, to choose consciously, and to stop confusing emotional intensity with spiritual truth. Sometimes the highest frequency is calm. Sometimes it is a quiet no. Sometimes it is a peaceful yes. Sometimes it is the courage to leave. Sometimes it is the humility to stay and grow. Sometimes it is the wisdom to rest before you decide. You do not have to force the answer. You have to become quiet enough to hear it. So now, let us enter the first inner moment together. If it is safe for you to do so, soften your shoulders. Let your jaw release slightly. Let your hands rest. You do not need to close your eyes unless that feels comfortable. Simply breathe in slowly through your nose and exhale as if you are letting go of a conversation you no longer need to continue inside your mind. Breathe in and release. Again, breathe in gently, not to fix yourself, not to become someone else, but to arrive here. And release. Feel the space around your body. Feel the contact beneath you. Feel the subtle rhythm of your chest. Allow your attention to move away from the outside world for a few seconds and come back to the simple fact that you are here, alive, listening, aware. Take a moment. Let this settle. Imagine only as a symbol that somewhere within you there is a radio dial. For a long time, it may have been tuned to urgency, comparison, worry, memory, or survival. Not because you failed, but because you adapted. And now, with each breath, imagine your inner hand slowly turning that dial. Not forcing, not escaping, just tuning. A little less noise, a little more presence, a little less fear, a little more truth. Feel, breathe, allow, observe, soften. Receive. And if thoughts come, let them pass like clouds. If emotions come, let them be waves. If nothing special happens, that is also okay. This is not a performance. This is a meeting with your own attention. The frequency you almost missed is not somewhere far away. It may begin here, in the quiet moment where you stop running from yourself. Do not ignore your highest frequency. If this state feels meaningful, press like as an anchor. Let it mark this inner moment. Let it say, I felt something, even if I cannot explain it yet. Now remain with me, because the next revelation is subtle. Many people think their highest frequency will feel like constant excitement. They imagine it as intensity, signs, synchronicities, dramatic breakthroughs, endless motivation. And yes, some people may experience meaningful coincidences or periods of deep inspiration. But often, the highest frequency feels much simpler. It feels like self-respect. It feels like not needing to betray yourself to be loved. It feels like choosing peace without becoming passive. It feels like power without aggression. It feels like humility without self-erasure. It feels like being able to stand in your own life without constantly asking the world to confirm that you deserve to exist. This is the main revelation. The highest frequency of your life is the version of you that is no longer at war with your own truth. Not the richest version, not the most admired version, not the most flawless version, the most aligned version. The version that listens before collapsing into old patterns. The version that pauses before giving your energy away. The version that knows that every yes has a frequency, every no has a frequency, every thought you feed, every story you repeat, every room you enter, every memory you worship, every future you imagine. Your life is not only made of events, it is made of repeated states, and repeated states become identity. This is why you must become conscious of what you practice internally. If you practice resentment every morning, resentment becomes familiar. If you practice fear every night, fear becomes a climate. If you practice self-abandonment in every relationship, absence begins to feel like love. But if you practice presence, courage, discernment, gratitude, and honest attention, something different may begin to grow. Slowly, quietly, realistically. And this is where the chosen one archetype must be understood correctly. Being chosen does not mean being better than others. It does not mean life owes you special treatment. It does not mean you possess literal, supernatural powers. It means you choose to respond to the call that many people ignore. You are chosen by your willingness, chosen by your attention, chosen by your refusal to remain asleep inside a life that keeps asking you to wake up. Not everyone will understand this. Some people may mock what they have not felt. Some may call your sensitivity weakness. Some may prefer the old version of you because it was easier to predict, easier to access, easier to control. And you do not need to fight them. You only need to become faithful to the signal. Because once you begin to live from this place, your identity starts to reorganize. You are no longer only the one who survived. You are becoming the one who listens. You are no longer only the one who waited. You are becoming the one who chooses. You are no longer only the one who searched outside. You are becoming the one who recognizes the field of meaning within. This transformation is not complete, and that is important. Do not rush to declare yourself finished. You are beginning. You are remembering. You are entering the first doorway of a much deeper path. More will be revealed as you become able to hold it with steadiness, humility, and discernment. Write in the comments, "I am ready to stop ignoring the signal." Let those words be your declaration of identity, not a demand to the universe, not a promise that life will instantly change. A sincere statement that you are willing to participate in your own awakening. Now we move into a deeper visualization. Again, if it feels right, breathe slowly. Let the breath enter as if it were light moving through a narrow window. Let the exhale leave as if old static were dissolving from your nervous system. Imagine yourself standing in front of two doors. The first door is familiar. You know its color. You know its weight. Behind it are the same patterns, the same distractions, the same excuses, the same emotional loops, the same postponement of your own truth. No judgment. only recognition. The second door is quieter. It does not sparkle. It does not promise ease. But something about it feels honest. Behind it is the path where you stop ignoring what you know. Behind it is the courage to become more congruent. Behind it is the frequency of the life that does not need to shout because it is rooted. You can stand there as long as you need, and perhaps, in your imagination, you place one hand on your heart. Perhaps you ask inwardly, "What have I been pretending not to know?" Do not force the answer. Let it rise. Maybe it is a boundary. Maybe it is a dream. Maybe it is a conversation. Maybe it is a grief. Maybe it is a practice. Maybe it is the simple need to return to yourself after years of being everywhere else. Take a moment. Let this settle. Feel the body. Feel the breath. Feel the quiet intelligence of your own awareness. There are those who have explored these inner thresholds for centuries through prayer, meditation, contemplation, ritual, poetry, silence, and disciplined self-observation. They use different maps, different symbols, different languages, but many pointed toward the same sacred possibility, that a human being can become more awake to the life moving through them. And when that happens, even ordinary moments begin to carry meaning. A cup of water, a walk alone, a difficult conversation, a decision made with integrity, a morning where you do not reach for distraction first, a night where you forgive yourself for being human. These become altars of attention. This is the frequency hidden inside daily life, not above it, inside it. Do not ignore your highest frequency. If this realization opened something in you, press like as a way of sealing the state. And if someone came to mind during this visualization, share this with them. Sometimes sharing is not about content. Sometimes it is an act of quiet service, a way of saying, "I felt this may help you listen to yourself too." Now let us bring this into the practical world, because a frequency that cannot touch your choices remains only an idea. Here is how you begin to apply it. First, notice what consistently lowers your inner clarity, not what challenges you in a healthy way, not what asks you to grow, but what repeatedly pulls you into fragmentation, self-betrayal, resentment, numbness, or performance. Write it down if you need to. Name it without drama. The moment you name a pattern, you weaken its invisibility. Second, notice what brings you back to yourself. It may be silence, it may be prayer, it may be movement, it may be honest work, it may be art, it may be nature, it may be a certain kind of conversation, it may be creating something instead of consuming everything. These are not random preferences. They may be clues to your natural resonance. Third, create a small daily ritual of alignment. Keep it simple. 3 minutes of breathing. 1 honest journal sentence. 1 question before making a decision. Does this choice bring me closer to my truth or farther from it? No perfection. No obsession. Just return. Fourth, protect your attention. Your attention is one of the most sacred resources you have. Wherever it goes repeatedly, your inner world begins to organize around it. If you give it constantly to panic, comparison, conflict, and empty noise, do not be surprised if your spirit feels far away. If you give it, even briefly, to truth, beauty, stillness, gratitude, and courageous action, you may begin to feel a different center forming within you. Fifth, let your identity evolve slowly. You do not need to announce every inner shift. You do not need to explain every boundary. You do not need to convince everyone that you are changing. Sometimes the most powerful transformation is quiet, It becomes visible not through declarations, but through consistency. This perspective is not usually shared openly in a world addicted to speed, because it asks something slower from you. It asks for patience. It asks for depth. It asks for the kind of honesty that cannot be faked. But perhaps that is why it is valuable. The highest things in life are not always hidden because someone is keeping them from you. Sometimes they are hidden because only stillness can reveal them. And now you know the signal. You know it may come as discomfort. You know it may come as clarity. You know it may come as a refusal to keep betraying yourself. You know it may come through the quiet recognition that your old frequency has become too small for the life asking to emerge. Do not ignore your highest frequency. Before we close, press like one final time if you choose to seal this message into your attention. Subscribe if you want to continue walking this path, because in the next messages, we will go deeper into the signs, the thresholds, the inner shifts, and the subtle practices that help you recognize when life is calling you into a higher state of awareness. And write one last phrase in the comments. I am listening to the frequency of my life. Let it be simple. Let it be honest. Let it be the first line of a new conversation with yourself. Remember, you do not need to become someone else to rise. You do not need to force destiny open. You do not need to prove your awakening to anyone. Begin where you are. Breathe where you are. Choose one honest thing where you are. The signal is not outside your life. It is moving through your life, in the pause before reaction, in the truth beneath fear, in the courage to stop abandoning yourself. If you ignored it before, do not punish yourself. You were learning. You were surviving. You were gathering the strength to hear what you can hear now. And if you are hearing it now, then perhaps this is the moment to turn toward it with reverence. The door is subtle. The invitation is quiet. The frequency is already calling.